One of the things that has struck me about becoming a parent at 50 is the number of sales management lessons that you learn as a parent, or at least lessons that become crystallized in dealing with kids. You look back and you go, wow, this is a great sales management lesson that I either knew or didn't know. And so I'd like to share two of them with you right now if I could. The first has to do with the classic nostrum, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. We've all heard that. I think it goes back to Julie Andrews and the Sound of Music in the early 60s. And we, as parents, we employ that probably too often. I know all the pharmaceutical manufacturers certainly employ that, and thank goodness they do. Otherwise, I don't know how we'd get the Advil down our kids' throats. But we also do it with food that they may not necessarily like. We sweeten it with something, hopefully not high fructose corn syrup, something a little more beneficial. But here's how I think it applies to sales management, how it should apply to sales management. I think what you see as you look around with corporations is it's not being applied. It's usually the stick approach as opposed to the carrot approach. About 10 years ago, I worked for a guy, a little more than that probably. I worked for a guy at a Fortune 500 company. He was our sales manager. And he had a staff. There was about 7 of us that had the entire state of Florida during some good economic times. And we all had our own district for which we were responsible. And every month we would get together, have a monthly meeting, and we were required to have a monthly report that we prepared and would then have to present to the rest of the crew. Now, it wasn't something that most of us liked to do as far as preparing the report. And what I've seen in my years of experience dealing with salespeople is that most salespeople do not like paperwork. They're not good at it. They don't like to be taken away from the customers, or they don't like to be taken out of the field. And also, just I think a lot of them are right-brainers, and they just don't like the methodical, boring nature of expense reports and other bureaucratic type stuff. So it was always like pulling teeth to get us to get our reports in on time. And rather than beat us with the stick, he decided to try the carrot approach, and it has stuck with me. It's just a great lesson. And you have to realize too, his staff of say 7 were doing very well. Several in the group were making close to $500,000 a year. The others were in the $200,000, $300,000 range. So what are you going to do? How hard are you going to pound on somebody like that? Because one of the reasons you made that much was because you controlled a lot of business that you could take with you if you decided to go to a competitor. And our company knew that. And he especially knew that and decided, hey, let's don't rock the boat too much. We have to get it done. You know, his boss needed it, the information, and he had to get it done, but let's make a game of it. So what he did was he decided to make a rule that if you got your report in on time, and by that I mean a minute late was not on time. If you got it in on time, you got your name thrown into a hat for a crisp $100 bill. Or maybe we drew cards and the highest card won the $100 bill. And he would make a big showy presentation and hand out the $100 bill to one of us around the table. And you wouldn't believe, we were like little kids. We were so excited, all of us wanted to win. And what struck me so much was that this was a group of people that could go to the ATM machine and take out their daily limit in crisp $100 bills, and more than likely not even feel the pinch. And here we were, just like little kids trying to get a Tootsie Roll or something. And it worked so well. We all ended up always getting our reports done on time. He did not have to be the bad guy. And we had fun doing it. It created just a sense of fun competition among all of us. And I'll tell you what, when you saw that crisp $100 bill go right on by you to somebody else and saw them put it in their pocket or their purse, it motivated you. You were bound and determined not to have your report in late the next month. Another lesson that comes to mind and that is it's along those lines. It's a little similar, and that is has to do with baby steps. As parents, when our child takes his first baby steps, we are so encouraging. We ooh and ah, we clap, we get an audience around, and we watch him, and we make a huge deal over taking a few baby steps that go nowhere initially. If we waited to reward the kid until he walked to the front door, who knows how long it would be before he ever walked. Certainly wouldn't be encouraging. But in the world of sales management, I think that's exactly what happens. In big companies, little companies, the salesperson has to hit this goal, and it's usually a big stretch goal, or there's no reward. We typically we don't reward the incremental progress on the way to the big goal, like we do with children. So we're not clapping as each salesperson adds a new account, maybe. Whatever the incremental progress is, we need to make a bigger deal about it and encourage that salesperson to keep moving in that direction, just like we do with our kids. One of the coolest things I ever read involved a psychiatrist who is a doctor doing his psychiatry residency in Hawaii, and he went to SeaWorld, and he was watching the Shamu show, or whatever the whale's name is down there, and he was just amazed at the tricks that these animals would do. And he had his little 6-year-old son with him, and he brought his kid up to question this trainer, especially being involved in psychiatry and psychology. And he said, how in the world do you get these animals to jump through these hoops and to do all these things that you get them to do? He goes, I can't get my 6-year-old here to go down the end of the driveway and pick up the newspaper. How do you get these, how do you get this otter to go pick up the newspaper? And I'll never forget this. The trainer said, unlike parents, we reward as they head in the right direction. So when the otter would just look in the right direction, they got the little piece of fish. And every step, he got a little piece of fish until he actually got to the newspaper and he got fish. And then when he picked up the newspaper, he got fish. All the way back. And as parents, I know we don't do that. I don't know anybody that does that. We tell our kid to clean his room, and we go in, and unless it's absolutely perfect, more than likely, he's going to get nitpicked. Rather than going, hey, way to go, man, you made your bed. You picked up the clothes off the floor. Here's a Cheez-It. Anything to encourage the partial progress, but still keeping them going in the right direction. Just like you do with the sea otters or the whales. You don't get a whale to just jump through a hoop on his first try. You've got to work him up to it. And I think the same holds true with salespeople. Don't set these goals and have nothing to do with them until they reach the goal. Encourage them as they make incremental progress, and I think your company will see progress. Now, those are just 2 of the lessons that I've learned from being a father this late in life. And if you'd like to know more, feel free to check out my blog, fatherhoodat50.com.